Why Dr. Fauci says we could be headed for a tough fall and winter. Hey, it's Scotty from NBC News. I'm going to tell you all about that. Plus, could shaming students actually be making things worse for colleges? So summer 2020 has definitely been different because of the pandemic. And as summer winds down and flu season kicks back in, Dr. Fauci says buckle up.
We need to hunker down and get through this fall and winter, because it's not going to be easy.
And even though new daily cases of COVID-19 have slowed in the U.S. over the past 2 weeks, we're still close to 200,000 deaths and more than 6 million confirmed infections.
Don't ever underestimate the potential of the pandemic.
Dr. Fauci was one of the leading AIDS researchers in the 1980s. He says we've been through this before, where a few infected patients led to tens of millions of deaths decades later. But one silver lining, though, places like Australia that have already dealt with the flu this year say they're having the lightest influenza season in memory, thanks to social distancing measures and masks. As for a vaccine, Dr. Fauci says he is cautiously optimistic about it being available by the end of the year. Around 500,000 people have been forced to evacuate in Oregon because of the wildfires. Nearly 1 million acres have burned there. President Trump and Joe Biden both commemorated 9/11's 19th anniversary with individual visits to Ground Zero in New York and Shanksville, Pennsylvania on Friday. California lawmakers proposed a new bill that would make it easier for former inmate firefighters to become professional firefighters. And in the first NFL game of the season, the Houston Texans stayed in the locker room during the national anthem, while the Kansas City Chiefs stood arms linked, both teams saying it was a show of support against racial injustice. You probably know how this story goes. School opens for classes, students come back to campus, cases spike, school blames students. Like at Syracuse, where the college said students were selfish for gathering on the quad. In a lot of these cases, schools like Cornell, for example, insist their screening programs are working and say the students aren't doing their parts. But experts say the blame and shame strategy might be making things worse.
I think what it does is make people, not want to admit that they did something, which is not helpful when you're trying to trace an illness.
Mason is one of the nearly 1,900 students at the University of South Carolina who have tested positive for COVID-19 since August 1st.
So I had only been to class in the grocery store, but we just went to do this saliva test, and I was completely shocked.
She was moved into an isolation room on total lockdown for 10 days.
At first I didn't really want people to know. I immediately texted the people that I had seen, but I didn't want other people to know because I thought that they would assume that I've been out doing something crazy, I deserve to be sick.
Experts say schools should hold socially distanced events and provide safe spaces outside and have other students work as contact tracers so they're less intimidating.
And making it less us versus them is really one place to start. Another thing is people are going to socialize, so you want to say, what is a fun thing that we could help them do that's safe?
So how do you think your school's handling things? Snap us a video to Ask Stay Tuned and we'll take a look. Now finally, I'm back home from Colorado, and I don't know if you guys can see this, but that orange light is real, it's crazy, and it's here in LA too. And we've got all your news every single day right here, so swipe up to subscribe.